and enjoying it just as much. My beautiful two boys are really enjoying themselves because there's a lot more space here at this particular campground. The spots are huge, as you can see. This is like, look at them, they actually have space to run. This is my whole spot here, and it goes all the way in the back. Let me just show you. There's like, I don't know, 15 feet back here, and my whole bus is 45 feet, so it fits so nicely. And of course they're loving it. There's actually ample space back here to run around, and there's a whole forest back there. Looks like there's some construction going on with trucks that I should be perhaps driving. I have been, my looking for work has been on halt. I've been helping a friend move for the last month. It's almost like having two full-time jobs. And there's a little bit of a water issue. I have to tell the park that their hose is a little bit leaking, but didn't want to make a big deal out of it. My bus does need a good cleanse. But so the reason why I wanted to make this video is actually to share a little something with you guys. Look how gorgeous it is up there. So tell you a little bit about what happened on Saturday, and I kept this for just for you guys so you can see what a disc pad and a disc looks like when it's finished. So okay, Saturday I was driving. I had to go, me and my friend, we rented a U-Haul trailer, and we had to go and pick up some doors that he wanted from a gentleman about 45-minute drive away. And a few days prior to, my brakes started to screech a little bit, but wasn't, and I knew I had to go and get them checked out. And actually on Saturday, after we were done with picking up his doors that he wanted for a construction project that he's working on, we were going to go to Fountain Tire and have the brakes checked. So the brakes just started squeaking just a few days ago, and mind you, it didn't sound bad at all. I have big tires, so maybe I couldn't hear it properly, but my tires on my Jeep are bulky, really big. They're heavy duty, huge tires. And so yeah, it started a few days prior to, and I thought, you know what, Saturday we'll rent a trailer and then we'll go after and have them looked at. So we rented this trailer, this U-Haul trailer, and hooked it up to the back of the Jeep, and off we went. So we successfully managed to get to this gentleman's property, and we picked up the doors, loaded it in the U-Haul trailer, and to get to his property was all the way up a hill. It was about a 10% climb, right? So obviously if you go up, you come down the same way. So 10% descent coming down. Now, as you're coming to the bottom of the hill, from on top there's a light which connects to a highway, and the highway is quite busy. It's not like a highway like you would think a freeway. It's more of a highway, but it's busy as can be, and traffic, you know, lots and lots of traffic, let's just put it that way. So as I was coming down this descent, the brakes started screeching, and I guess the trailer behind was pushing on the Jeep, and all of a sudden, as I was near the bottom of the hill, the brakes stopped screeching, and I was trying to press on them, and I had none. I had no brakes. Now, it's funny what happens to the human brain when they're in this kind of a chaotic situation. You actually, at least me, I did not panic. There was no panic. There was no anxiety whatsoever. The only thing I thought about was how to successfully sort of, you know, that's putting it in quotations, successfully stop this vehicle without injuring anyone, or me and my friend and my, you know, dogs in the vehicle. And my dogs are always actually they have their own seat belts, so they're always strapped down. This is what this is for. They have their colors, but they all have their seat belts, so they're always tied down. Even if there's an accident, they're not going to fly through a windshield or anything like that. So in a split of a second, I thought it's either me going onto traffic, and I'm definitely not only going to badly injure few cars, maybe my vehicle would crash, and there was vehicles coming from both directions, so it was just a matter of a huge accident happening from maybe with including several vehicles. I thought about that, or instead I could go and crash on the side of the wall, the road. So on the side, I was coming down the hill, and I was in the left turning lane, and what I decided to do was just to continue going left and go. Thankfully, on the side there was a curb with a wall, with a brick wall and bushes, and my vehicle with the trailer in the back crashed into that. So it was a scary experience, and I don't wish that upon anyone. And very shaken up when I got out, and people apparently heard the boom. There was a girl from Starbucks that came out and gave us water, and she said, "Come in, we'll give you free coffee and whatever you want." And she was really shaken up. The police showed up and the ambulance, and yeah, it was really quite the situation. Now, apparently everybody really thought what my decision was incredible. So I got an applaud from the ambulance, I got an applaud from the police officer, and my brake line actually broke, so there was no brake fluid left. You could see it from the front side, the passenger side. It was all over the tire, and yeah, and then there were a lot of people walking by and people coming and asking what happened, and my friend was telling them all, and I had people coming up to me like applauding me. And they said, "What a good decision." And my only thought was, don't injure anyone. If we go off to the side, you know, we might be a little bit injured ourselves, but I don't want to kill anyone else. I don't want this to be worse than it already is. And that's what happened. That was my decision. So we were at the scene for a few hours, and then BCA was called. I have a BCA coverage for my motorhome and for my vehicle, and they came only to realize that I was pulling a U-Haul trailer, and they had to call a flatbed truck to come. And so I waited a little bit longer for the truck to show up, and finally we loaded a Jeep on top, and U-Haul trailer was pulled behind with a tow truck, and we were taken straight to a facility shop that was able to successfully take us on a Saturday at 1 o'clock to fix the brakes. And so that's what I was getting at right now. So the steer axle, okay, souvenir for me and for you guys. These are my brake pads. What do you see? Nothing. Nothing. There is no brake pad. I'll tell you what happened, actually. What do you see here? Nothing again. Gone. The brake pad is gone. Last but not least, my favorite part. What do you see? Nothing again. This was the disc. It's supposed to be so much thicker. It's paper thin, and it was starting to eat away in this area here. So a few days ago, my caliper, apparently, the guy mentioned the caliper started to seize up and it started overheating. So the brake pads burned down really fast. And on that day, on a Saturday, the caliper actually just seized when I was coming down the hill. It wouldn't let go, and the fact that the heat from the caliper, with it constantly being on, caused the brake line to brake, and the brake fluid just came out. Those are owls in the daytime. So what happens with the Jeep with the brake fluid is when you have a puncture in the brake line, apparently all the brake fluid comes out. Now, I had a Range Rover that I drove before my Jeep, and if you break a brake line on one brake, you actually, none of the other brakes are really affected. So if you break a brake line on, say, the right passenger side, all three other brakes will be working still. With the Jeep, it's different. Once you break the brake line, the fluid just comes out and that's it. So my caliper seized up, it overheated, and it broke. It punctured the brake line, the fluid came out, and I had no more brakes. So yeah, it was really scary. So scary that now I check my brake fluid. Well, it had nothing to do with the brake fluid, but I just check it to make sure that there's enough in there. I didn't know it was that fundamental. I know I'm being over paranoid, but it will probably be like this for a little while longer until I calm down. The oddest thing is that I got back in the vehicle that same day, and after it was fixed, and just drove. And no, the Jeep is so strong. It's so strong that it just has a little bit of a dent in the front. And I'll show you guys without showing my license plate. And but you know, the only thing I actually thought about is how lucky I am that this is all that happened. It's God is always watching over me, and how little of an impact this had. So this is all that happened to my Jeep. I hit this against the wall was actually made out of big stones. So it hit this, the bushes slowed it down, and then it hit the wall, and then it brought me back, and the whole Jeep and the trailer was on an angle. This, and then it pushed this fender a little bit. You can see it's not lined up like the other one. But yeah, Midas checked it out after the brakes were fixed, and they said everything's okay. And yeah, and that was I was a lucky person, I guess you could say. If my decision was to just continue going and just hope miraculously that on a 10% descent my vehicle would stop, if my decision was to just keep going, I could have been right now in a hospital, you know, quadriplegic or with some brain malfunction, or I don't know, a puncture somewhere in my body. But yeah, so I'm extremely thankful, and that's all I thought about was that everybody walked out of that vehicle unhurt, a little shaken but unhurt. And my boys didn't even know, my beautiful furball boys didn't even know anything happened. They were all strapped up. So there was and the Midas gentleman said that you know, with calipers it's funny, and with these big tires on a Jeep you don't always hear things, but yeah, it just, I maybe should have taken it a day earlier, but the noise just began, and I thought, oh, you know what, well, it was like just a few days prior to, and on the Saturday we were actually going to head to Fountain Tire. Like as soon as we were down the hill, we were heading to Fountain Tire to have it checked. So yeah, it's funny, just, you can't always prevent everything, but this is scary on a different level. So, having said that, I'm thankful and grateful and happy, and that's it. Just moving forward from here. I don't know how I will handle brake fade on a big truck. I will most likely have a truck with drum brakes. Once I get my own truck, it will have disc brakes, so I don't have to worry about brake fade in that sense. But right now, you know, I'm probably going to be working full-time in a couple of weeks. I will be driving a truck most likely with brake drums. So as long as the truck is a manual, I would feel much better. I can at least have a little bit more control there. But until I get my own truck, yeah, brake fade is on the list of things I have to watch out for. I know how to try to avoid it, you know, obviously overusing the brakes, not allowing them to dissipate the heat in the atmosphere. Just continuously holding on to your brakes will cause overheating. So you just don't do that. If you want to slow down your vehicle coming down the hill, you press on your brakes and then you let go and let them cool off. And then when it starts gaining speed, your truck, you press on the brakes again. You let go. You don't continuously press on your brakes, otherwise it's going to overheat and then you'll have to use the runway or something worse. Like that car crash in Denver, I believe, where the gentleman, 28 vehicles were involved, 4 of them were semi-trucks, 24 were cars, and a lot of people were injured, and I think there were some deaths. And apparently he said that his brakes failed. You know, anything could have happened. I'm not speculating, I don't know anything about the case, but if the person has been perhaps going a little bit slower, if they saw traffic was at a stall, they should have started to slow down a long time prior to, perhaps being innovative. And if he had no brakes, trying to find an alternative, or even he should have driven the truck off the road and not jeopardized anyone's life. That's what he should have done. That's exactly what I would have done. Well, that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm so sorry that I have been absent. Helping my friend has been like working 2 jobs. It's been nonstop, going like so often, renting a U-Haul and driving 300 kilometers in one day back and forth, and actually helping him in his apartment and moving stuff. And he has a really big apartment and all that stuff. So yeah, just kind of helping, and he has storages and all sorts of things. So it's been it's been tiring, but I have not forgotten YouTube, and I love it. I'm getting back into making my videos, and I hope to see you guys soon here. Talk to you later, and I'll leave you with an image of my beautiful boys.